Bienvenidos a nuestro canal. En un mundo lleno de desafíos, es la fe la que nos guía. Hoy abordaremos varios temas que están moldeando el panorama internacional. ¿Podrá el Líbano liberarse del dominio de Hezbollah? ¿Qué mensaje crucial tiene el príncipe heredero de Irán para su pueblo? ¿Y cómo responde Netanyahu a la propuesta de un embargo de armas por parte de Francia? Quédate para descubrirlo. Antes de adentrarnos en el tema de hoy, si quieres navegar con mayor seguridad y proteger tu privacidad en Internet, te recomendamos NordVPN. Encuentra más información en la descripción. En un impactante mensaje al pueblo libanés, el primer ministro israelí, Benjamin Netanyahu, distingue entre el pueblo de Líbano y Hezbollah. Netanyahu confirma que han eliminado a un alto líder de Hezbollah que sería el reemplazo de Nasrallah, y asegura que su influencia está más debilitada que nunca. Netanyahu hace un llamado directo: liberen su país de la opresión de Hezbollah. ¿Es este el comienzo de un nuevo capítulo para el Líbano? ¿Tal vez una oportunidad para acabar con el caos que ha afectado a una nación conocida antes como la perla del Medio Oriente?
This is a message to the people of Lebanon. Do you remember when your country was called the Pearl of the Middle East? I do. So what happened to Lebanon? A gang of tyrants and terrorists destroyed it. That's what happened. Lebanon was once known for its tolerance, for its beauty. Today, it's a place of chaos, a place of war. Israel withdrew from Lebanon 25 years ago, but the country that actually conquered Lebanon is not Israel, it's Iran. Iran, which finances and arms Hezbollah to serve Iran's interests at Lebanon's expense. Hezbollah has turned Lebanon into a stockpile of ammunition and weapons and a forward Iranian military base. Just one day after the October 7th massacre a year ago, Hezbollah joined the war against Israel. It launched an unprovoked attack on our cities and on our citizens. It has since fired over 8,000 missiles at Israel, killing civilians without distinctions: Jews, Christians, Muslims, and Druze. Israel has decided to put an end to this. We've decided to do whatever is necessary to return our people safely to their homes. Israel has a right to defend itself. Israel also has a right to win, and Israel will win. We've degraded Hezbollah's capabilities. We took out thousands of terrorists, including Nasrallah himself, and Nasrallah's replacement, and the replacement of his replacement. Today, Hezbollah is weaker than it's been for many, many years. Now you, the Lebanese people, you stand at a significant crossroads. It is your choice. You can now take back your country. You can return it to a path of peace and prosperity. If you don't, Hezbollah will continue to try to fight Israel from densely populated areas at your expense. It doesn't care if Lebanon is dragged into a wider war. Christians, Druze, Muslims, Sunnis, and Shiites, all of you are suffering because of Hezbollah's futile war against Israel. Today I ask every mother and every father in Lebanon a simple question: is it worth it? Because it doesn't have to be that way. I know you want a better future for your children. So I'm speaking to all of you today. There is a better way for your children, for your cities, for your villages, for your country. You deserve to restore Lebanon to its days of tranquility. You deserve a Lebanon that is different. One country, one flag, one people. Don't let these terrorists destroy your future any more than they've already done. Stand up and take your country back. You have an opportunity that hasn't existed in decades. An opportunity to take care of the future of your children and grandchildren. You have an opportunity to save Lebanon before it falls into the abyss of a long war that will lead to destruction and suffering like we see in Gaza. It doesn't have to be that way. Each of you can take a step for your future, even a small step. You can make a difference. I say to you, the people of Lebanon, free your country from Hezbollah so that this war can end. Free your country from Hezbollah so that your country could prosper again, so that future generations of Lebanese and Israeli children will know neither war nor bloodshed, but will finally live together in peace.
Mientras tanto, el príncipe heredero de Irán, Reza Pahlavi, se levanta con fuerza, dispuesto a liderar una transición hacia la democracia en su país. En su discurso recientemente difundido, denuncia el caos sembrado por los mulás, líderes religiosos chiitas de Irán desde la Revolución Islámica. Caos no solo en Irán, sino también en Siria, Irak, Yemen y Líbano. ¿Podrá Irán encontrar el camino hacia un futuro más brillante bajo un nuevo liderazgo? Escuchemos las promesas de cambio y esperanza.
The Middle East, the cradle of civilization, is rich with stories of great kings, prophets, and philosophers. From Cyrus to Moses to Ibn Khaldun, our nations have given the world some of its greatest visionaries. Leaders like Anwar Sadat, King Hussein, Menachem Begin, King Faisal, and my father, too, took up the mantle of seeking peace for our people. But for 45 years, too many of us have been forced to live in fear. Fear of the next terrorist attack, fear of war, fear of economic instability, fear of nuclear blackmail. That's because 45 years ago, my country was taken hostage by a radical regime that seeks not only to keep my people in chains, but to export its revolution to your countries and your people. The regime in Tehran is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of innocents, Iranians, Arabs, and Israelis, Christians, Muslims, and Jews. It facilitated the October 7th attack. It fueled sectarian conflicts in Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and Yemen. It is trying to unseat the Hashemite kingdom and delegitimize the custodians of the two holy mosques. It uses Palestinians as human shields. And now it has brought our cradle of civilization to the cusp of regional war. And so today, I come to you with a message. This is not the Iranian people's war. It is Ali Khamenei and his regime's war. The tyrant in Tehran couches his warmongering in Iranian nationalism. But he does not speak for our nation. The crimes his regime has committed against you, our neighbors, are an affront to Iranians and our values. For us Iranians, pride in our nation and love of our country do not come at the price of hatred, antagonism, or chauvinism. My compatriots have shown time and time again that they do not want Iran's wealth spent on fueling wars, fostering instability, or funding terrorism. Iranians are not your enemy. It is the Islamic Republic that is our common enemy, the enemy of all peace-seeking people in our regions, whatever nation they come from or whatever faith they practice. So I say to you, our friends across the Middle East, our region deserves so much better. But in order to succeed, first, this regime that has held us hostage for nearly half a century must go. The Middle East is all too familiar with turmoil and upheaval. So I know you might fear change will bring chaos, but fear not. We will not allow a power vacuum to follow the collapse of this regime. There is a vast coalition of patriotic Iranians at home and abroad ready to step in to serve our nation and make peace with our region. I have told my compatriots that I will do my duty. I will step forward at their call to oversee this peaceful transition to democracy and Iran's return to the community of nations. Peace is neither a relic of history nor a distant dream. It is a promise we owe to ourselves and our children. And together, we can make it a reality.
Por último, escuchemos una intensa respuesta de Netanyahu al presidente francés, Emmanuel Macron. Tras la propuesta de imponer un embargo de armas a Israel, Netanyahu responde con indignación, resaltando las amenazas constantes que enfrenta su país. Netanyahu señala la hipocresía al comparar el abastecimiento de armas a Israel con las acciones de Irán en la región, acusándolo de liderar los ataques contra Israel.
I have a message. I have a message for President Macron. Today, Israel is defending itself on 7 fronts against the enemies of civilization. We're fighting in Gaza against Hamas, those savages who murdered, raped, beheaded, and burned our people on October 7th. We're fighting in Lebanon against Hezbollah, the most heavily armed terror organization in the world, which was planning an even greater massacre than October 7th on our northern border, and that has rocketed Israeli towns and cities for nearly a year. We're fighting against the Houthis in Yemen and the Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria that together have launched hundreds of drones and missile attacks against Israel. We're fighting against terrorists in Judea and Samaria who are trying to murder civilians in the heart of our cities. And we're fighting against Iran, which last week fired over 200 ballistic missiles directly at Israel, and which stands behind the 7-front war against Israel. As Israel fights the forces of barbarism led by Iran, all civilized countries should be standing firmly by Israel's side. Yet President Macron and some other Western leaders are now calling for an arms embargo against Israel. Shame on them. Is Iran imposing an arms embargo on Hezbollah, on the Houthis, on Hamas, and on its other proxies? Of course not. The axis of terror stands together. But countries who supposedly oppose this terror axis call for an arms embargo on Israel. What a disgrace. Well, let me tell you this. Israel will win with or without their support. But their shame will continue long after the war is won. For in defending ourselves against this barbarism, Israel is defending civilizations against those who seek to impose a dark age of fanaticism on all of us. Rest assured, Israel will fight until the battle is won, for our sake and for the sake of the peace and security of the entire world.
A medida que los líderes mundiales expresan su preocupación, ¿cómo evolucionará el papel de la comunidad internacional en este conflicto? ¿Apoyarán a Israel en su lucha contra las fuerzas de la barbarie? Una vez más, agradecemos que estén aquí. Para apoyar nuestro canal, visita los enlaces en la descripción del video. Que el Señor nos guíe siempre a discernir en medio de las sombras y a luchar por la verdad y la justicia. Hasta la próxima.
Por favor, no olviden dejar sus comentarios, denle like a este vídeo y sepan que pueden seguir pendientes de toda la actualidad de nuestro Facebook, Instagram y Twitter. Para más noticias y vídeos musicales, no olvides suscribirte a este canal. Y no se olviden de activar la campana para recibir una notificación cuando publiquemos nuevo material. ¡Hasta la próxima!